It's in our nature to protect the ones we love, to stand up to any danger, to be strong and courageous, to always be prepared, to keep our family safe, to be the first line of defense. We are born to protect.
What's up and welcome to the channel. My name is Hagshot and thank you for joining us. Today we have the Glock 19 Gen 5 versus the Taurus G3. The Glock 19 or the Glock 26 versus the Taurus G2C is one of our most popular videos, man, and y'all seem to like it. I named that video, Is It Even Close? And this video is going to be very similar. I think a lot of people would be surprised at how similar these guns really are. But at the end, I am going to choose a clear-cut winner and why. We're going to contrast these two. And let's go ahead and get right into it. I would like to thank the SHOT team, the power patrons that you see on the screen here. We appreciate their support. If you'd like to come over and join the SHOT team, we'd love to have you, man. I got a link down below so you can come over and check us out over on Patreon. So let's go ahead and get started with specs here really quick. We have the Glock 19. Height is 5.0 inches. Unloaded weight, 23.63 ounces. Barrel length of 4 inches, overall length of 7.2 inches, and width is right at an inch. If we bring in the Taurus G3, this one is coming in at 5.2 inches in height, 24.83 ounces unloaded, so we have about an ounce difference there. 4 inches in the barrel, 7.28 inches in overall length, same exact length, and 1.2 inches in width. So what that means to y'all, if we show them slide to slide, they should be exactly the same. And for all intents and purposes, they are. As far as your width goes, the Taurus is 0.2 of an inch wider, but keep in mind on the Taurus you have that manual safety there, so that's going to make it a little bit wider. But as far as their grips, it actually looks like the Glock may be just a little bit wider right there. They're both 15-round guns, and what you'll notice here is the height difference. So you have 5.2 inches over here on the Taurus, and right at 5 inches exactly, so 0.2 of an inch wider and 0.2 of an inch taller in height, same capacity. So this is one thing that I've praised Glock in the past for, is their size to weight to capacity ratio is unmatched compared to a lot of companies, although there are some companies that are closing that gap a little bit. And Taurus pretty much was able to get on par with the Glock 19 here. So there's your difference in height. And this is going to make a difference carrying. Let me go ahead and cover the carrying part of it. I have not carried either one of these guns a whole lot. I wouldn't call either one of them my daily carry. But what I will say is I've carried the Glock 19 a good bit, not on a consistent daily, monthly basis, but I've carried it a good bit. It's not bad, so you obviously want to make sure you get a good holster, good gun belt. We pretty much have those covered, and you can carry this gun pretty comfortably. Just keep in mind that you're now over 2 pounds once you load this gun up. So if you're not wearing the right stuff, it can be kind of cumbersome. Neither one of them are what I would call like an everyday kind of carry. And I know there's going to be somebody that says, man, I carry a Glock 19 every single day, blah, 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 and 4 extra magazines. Well, not everybody can do that, dude. So I'm proud of you, but it's just not practical for I would say most people I don't think are carrying a Glock 19 or even a Taurus G3, but they do have their places, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Let's go over features here really quick. Glock 19, of course, they're known for being slim and trim, man. Just very low-profile sights, low-profile slide stop. All the controls are really simple, and it's no difference with the Gen 5 here. You do have a slot up here for a light or a laser if you choose to run one. Squared-off trigger guard that is serrated here in the front. Both guns have been safety checked, by the way. High undercut up underneath the trigger guard, so this makes Glocks. Not only do you have a low bore axis, but you can get your hand really high up. One thing that I'd like to point out here is the right up here under the trigger guard, you can tell how much of a difference that is. It doesn't look like that much of a difference, but it just allows you to get your hand a little bit higher on the Glock than you can the Taurus, where it's just going to push down just a little bit. It's pretty much a control issue at that point. It helps you control the Glock a little bit more. Oversized magazine release right here that is reversible. The Glock's going to come with 3 15-round mags depending on what state you live. The new Gen 5s have a flared mag well here, and you do have a little cutout here so you can pull that magazine out if it were to get stuck for whatever reason. The RTF finishing, this is their rough texture finishing that they use on the Glocks, and it does just fine. I don't have an issue with it. It's not too rough, and it's not too slick. I really don't mind it at all. And then, of course, you have these channels here, so that allows you to change your back strap out. You can add ones with more of an extended beaver tail if you like, so there's all kinds of options, and Glock provides those whenever you buy the gun. Only front side serrations on this firearm, and you do have the drop in the bucket style sights. Not my favorite, but there's a slew of options to take care of that. Slide stop on the right hand side of the gun, so this is a Gen 5 edition. And again, that magazine release is reversible for left-handed shooters. Takedown notches right there. Very simple gun, but it has a lot of cool features. A lot of people like the simplicity of the Glock, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like the way it looks too. Taurus G3, a little bit more going on, as you can tell. You have a standard 1913 style rail up here. More of a rounded trigger guard here. Again, it comes up. Magazine release is very small compared to the Glock there, but it has a really responsive release. So even with the slide lock, if you're going to insert a fresh mag, you can see those mags pop right out of there. They're metal, and they are Mech Guard mags, by the way. The Glock is a little more sluggish, and what you have is polymer on polymer, so that really slows that response time down. Metal mags here, which is going to add a little bit of weight, obviously. Slide stop, safety, takedown notch. You have little cutouts here, so whenever you have the gun at the ready, your support thumb on either side or your index finger have a little spot to rest on. And again, that safety is pretty low profile, but it is easy enough to sweep on and off. So I don't mind it too much. Carrying this gun, I would not carry it with that safety, to be honest with you, but that's just me. Magazine release is reversible, by the way, if you would like to do that. And the grip texturing on the Taurus, they do an amazing job with this. They put it exactly where you need it, know where you don't. It's kind of rough, and it will be rough up against the skin a little bit, but at the same time, man, it feels really good. They do a great job as far as that goes. No controls on this side of the gun. Of course, if you want to reverse your magazine release, again, you can do that. And no backstrap options either. So it is what it is. And that's one thing that Glock has going for it. You can change the backstraps out to better suit your needs. Loaded viewport up top here on the Taurus. And on the Glock, the extractor will stick out just a little bit to show there's a round in the chamber. I would never depend on these things. I would physically check and make sure there is nothing in the chamber, or make sure there is one in the chamber. Now on the Glock, you do have a pin front sight. Well, it's not really a pin front sight. You can take this front sight off. You have a drift adjustable rear sight. Again, these are polymer, but there's a slew of options that you can use to if you would like to change these out. I still haven't done this because, again, I don't carry this gun enough, and I feel pretty adequate with this firearm with these sights on it. They're not my favorite, not by far, but it's something I'm still planning on doing, trust me. The front sight on the Taurus is pinned, and you have a drift adjustable sight in the rear. These are at least steel. Very low profile to the gun there. So you have a 3-dot setup there, and that's one thing the Taurus does, which is interesting. Not that it's a bad thing, but they're just very low profile. Neither one of these guns have a very good ramp here or a very good shelf that you can do one-handed manipulation. But one thing I will say on the Taurus, man, these slide serrations are amazing. They have them front and rear, and they're just cut deep into the slide. And one thing about the Taurus is it's a much easier gun to rack the slide on. if you just pull them side by side, if you have weaker dexterity or you're a woman or you're somebody that's older, you will definitely notice the difference there between the two springs. This one is just much easier to use. One thing that's interesting though, talking about the slide weights, is they were both in that 11 to 12 pound range. Although the Taurus feels much easier to me to pull back than the Glock. With our little weight scale there. Nothing scientific, of course, but it just seems they're about the same. So there you go. There's that. Reference the EZ. Shield 9 EZ is anywhere from like 10 to 11 pounds, somewhere in that range. So you have an idea. On each gun, the Taurus is carbon steel, and it has this stainless steel barrel. I've noticed that the finish on this gun, I don't see this thing holding up over time. I'm not saying that it's going to rust out, but I see this thing dulling very quickly, because even now it's dulled just in the time that I've had it. The new NDLC finish on the Glock is much better than the Gen 4, by the way. I mean, it still gets a little bit of discoloration there, but overall it is held up very nicely. I've had it in and out of a holster. And it's done a great job. Now, of course, you're talking 200 to 500, 550 bucks. So you have a $300, $350 swing here in pricing. Of course, if you're watching this in the future, that may change. Glock's, of course, made in Austria, and the Taurus is made in Brazil. The Taurus does come with one 15 round and one 17 round extended magazine. Let's break them down real quick, and then we'll head to the range, and then afterwards we'll show the triggers and talk about pros and cons. Breakdown of the Taurus, they're both about the same. So you're just going to cheat back on the slide, pull the trigger, dual captive recoil spring. Right there. And there's your stainless barrel, striker block, all that good stuff. We've shown this a million times, and we have our individual reviews if you would like to check them out. Very dirty, but here's your chassis, rails, all that good stuff. There we go. Glock, of course, kind of invented this whole easy takedown process. Of course, you want to make sure they're clear. Cheat back on the slide. Dual captive recoil spring there. Striker block. Yeah, again, we've shown this a lot over the course of 6 years. So let's go ahead and hit the range, and then afterwards we'll talk about pros and cons. Then I'm going to get Mrs. Hegshot's opinion in here during pros and cons. So we will see y'all in a minute. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that. A little bit of shooting there for you. You've seen the accuracy testing there. Now, keep in mind, that was how I was doing that day, freehanding or standing, and no rest or anything like that. But let's talk about the triggers here really quick. Of course, on the Glock, you have your safe action design. There are internal safeties, of course, on this firearm. All right, let's talk about the trigger on the Glock here. Make sure we're clear. You hit the wall. A little bit of creep in the trigger. It breaks. There's your reset right there. Nothing spectacular. Not the best trigger in the world, not the worst trigger in the world. That's just kind of how I feel about them. 5.3 pounds. They claim 5.5 pounds. Right in that range is what you're going to get, 5.2 pounds. It's a decent trigger, and honestly, I feel like a pretty dang good shot with Glocks. But I almost see them more, well, we'll get into that. Hold on. Let me show you the trigger on the Taurus here. Make sure we're clear. Very similar design. You have a little dingus that's kind of skeletonized there. Bring it back to the wall. Notice how much farther back that wall is than the Glock. So, just for reference, the wall's right there on the Glock. You actually bring this one back much further before you get to that wall. Brakes. Reset. Right there. Crisper travel, but on the brake, it's not bad. It's just a little clunky, but one cool thing with the Taurus is, let's say that round didn't go off, bad primer, whatever the case may be, it actually has restrike capability. Now, that will affect the trigger weight. Let me show you that here really quick. So, this is off of a normal pull. You're going to be right at 5 pounds. Let's try it one more time. £5 pounds, 6 ounces. That seems kind of high, but let's try one more time here. Yeah, 5.5, or 5.5. Now let's try it with the restrike. So you see what it was there, 5.7. Restrike, 5.14. Let's try that restrike again. Yeah, 5 pounds, 14 ounces on the restrike. So it is going to be a little bit heavier, but just keep in mind, you do have that restrike capability. If that means anything to you, I think it's actually a pretty cool feature there from Taurus. So, both guns have their pros and cons. We're going to get Mrs. Headshot in here, and let's go ahead and talk about the pros and cons and pick a winner here. So I have the lovely Mrs. Headshot helping us out here with pros and cons and to help pick a winner. Let's start with Glock, and we're going to cover pros and cons on both, all in the same thing, okay? So pros on the Glock, I like its simplicity. It's a very usable gun, and I don't feel like it excels in any one area, but I feel like it does really good in a lot of areas. In the shooting department, you can actually, this is like the best size for maybe a first-time gun buyer that's thinking about carry maybe down the road, but home defense and range use, I find this gun is very awesome. All kinds of accessories and things that you can do to these. The mag compatibility is amazing because now you have a 15 round, a 17 round, a 33 round, depending on what state you live in, of course. You have all kinds of holsters and accessories, and there's just so much you can do with it, but I feel like on the self-defense standpoint, these guns are awesome. I've never been the most accurate with them ever, and I think that shows from our test even that day. I guarantee if I were to do that accuracy test today, I'd be more accurate with the Taurus. But self-defense purposes, I think the Glock does just fine. And you can't really argue with the fact that most of the time, Glocks are going to work. And then as far as what I don't like about the gun, if you may not be any stranger to our channel, you're probably saying, he doesn't like the sights. Well, I don't like the sights on this gun. I think they're just garbage, man. On a $550 gun, I think they could do much better at this point. Also, the magazine release to me is just a little sloppy. I'd like those mags to get out of there a little bit quicker, but that's just my opinion. What do you think about the Glock?
So for the Glock 19, I actually like the fact that the slide serrations are a little less aggressive. I like them less aggressive for me just because of my skin is sensitive. The less aggressive, the better. I don't like the sights on the Glock, but they're doable. I like the fact that the grip is a little bit wider, so I feel like I can control it better, but I like the fact that it's not aggressive. So if I were to carry it or use it at the house, it's not painful for me to shoot. I like the fact that I have different mag capacities with it, and I like the fact that it's just an awesome gun. It's reliable.
Simple, it's going to work. No frills, no thrills about it. The Taurus, on the other hand, I really like a lot of features. The Taurus G2C, the Taurus G3, I just think it's an awesome gun for the budget-minded. I mean, not everybody can afford $500, $600 on a handgun, and that's fine. That's why I love that there's options like this. And even the fact that the Taurus is being compared to Glock, in my mind, is a huge thing, man. Taurus is making an awesome striker-fired pistol. The grip texturing. The sights I actually like better. I don't like them so low profile, but I do like them better than the stock Glock sights. I don't really mind the safety, although it's not my thing. I wish they'd make one without it. And the slide serrations to me are just better. Trigger's better. It's an awesome shooter, man. That's all I can really say about it. No malfunctions with that one or the G2C that we had. What do you like about them?
I like the sights on the Taurus better than I do the Glock. I don't like the mag release just because of how small it is. I don't like the grip texturing because of how rough it is. And again, like the slide serrations, they're a lot more aggressive than the Glock. Other than that, it was a good shooter. The sights were great. It's larger, so it's easier to shoot, and it's, you know, easier on the recoil. So overall, it was a good shooter. I liked it.
Does it feel like it's less recoil to you than the Glock? Or does it feel like they're about the same?
Feels like they're about the same.
About the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't notice much of a recoil difference either, and just going back and looking at our footage, I really couldn't tell a lot. They're both pretty low bore axis. They sit pretty low in the hand, so that wasn't too much of an issue. Now it's time to pick a winner. So you ready to do this? I'm going to let you pick first. Which one do you like best? You like the Glock better? Yeah. Why? The people want to know.
So I like the Glock better just because, like with Headshot and I, we don't like the drop in the bucket sights. But I feel like the Glock is more reliable. I feel like it has a longer history of outstanding good overall guns. I like the grip texturing. It's not rough in my hands, and that's a big thing for me. I have sensitive skin. I'm not a girly girl. I'll get, down with him and shoot some guns and do whatever I got to do, but I don't like a painful shooting gun. I like to enjoy what I'm shooting and it be smooth. And I feel like the Taurus was really aggressive, but for the Taurus, I like the finger divots that the Glock didn't offer. But overall, I feel like the history with the Glock is more reliable than the Taurus.
Yeah, those are some great points, and I can't really argue with any of that, because I think that if I were to walk out of the house today and somebody was to tell me, all right, Taurus, Glock, which one do you trust more? I'm going with the Glock. I mean, I can't see myself going towards Taurus, even though their semi-autos now seem to be really solid. Over time and just spur of the moment, I would take the Glock all day long. But it's very hard for me, man, because I like the features better on the Taurus. If it had that history that the Glock does, I wouldn't hesitate it. So here's where I'm at with this, and this is kind of hard for me. I would take the Glock out the door if I were to trust this gun with my life. I would take the Glock. But if I'm taking it to the range, I would take the Taurus because I think it's just a better shooter in my hands. I'm more comfortable with it. I had some pretty dang awesome groups with this gun, but I just trust the Glock more. With that being said, I think if Taurus can continue this path that they're on and making reliable semi-autos, hopefully they can get over that quirk they had for many years of being just unreliable pieces of junk. I don't think that about the Taurus G2 or the Taurus G3. I think they're doing some pretty awesome stuff. They just still have that stigma around them. I trust the Glock more. I shoot the Taurus better. If I only had $200, I wouldn't hesitate to buy the Taurus. Or if I wanted a truck gun or something like that, I wouldn't hesitate to get the Taurus either. It has some really nice features and some features that I think Glock could take cue from. But Glock has been doing this for like 30 years with very minor changes. They just make a really reliable gun, man. I trust my life more to Glock than I do Taurus. I am not a Glock fanboy, by the way. If you have never watched our channel, you may get that impression. I think M&P, SIGs, and some others do it as good or better than Glock. But in this case, I trust it more. So I think we're pretty much in sync here with this one. So the Glock 19 versus the Taurus G3. Thank you guys for watching. I, of course, want to hear what your opinion is down in the comments below. We will see you in the next one. And as always, holding down.